My child, I know this space you're in feels confusing. I know it feels like you're standing between two worlds, the one that broke you and the one you still can't see. You're no longer who you were, but you don't yet feel like who you're supposed to become. You're caught in a silence that makes you question everything. I see it. I see you. This is not a punishment. It's a passage. It's not the end of your story. It's the middle, the holy middle, where I do some of my deepest, quietest, most transformative work. You call it stillness. You call it delay. You call it being stuck. But from where I sit, this is sacred ground. This is where roots are growing beneath the surface, where your identity is shedding everything false, where your soul is learning to listen again, not to the noise of culture, not to the expectations of others, but to my voice. The voice that called you by name long before anyone knew who you were. The voice that whispered purpose over your life while you were still in the womb. The voice that does not need a platform to be powerful, a crowd to be present, or noise to be real. You've been waiting for me to speak loud, but I've been speaking low. And I need you to tune your heart to the frequency of faith again. I know this in-between season feels like a void, like the ink has dried and the page is blank, but I'm still writing. I never left the story. Just because you can't see what I'm doing doesn't mean I've stopped. Some chapters require silence. Some healing happens without announcement. Some preparation requires isolation, not because you are being rejected, but because you are being recalibrated. What you call buried, I call planted. And what you thought was the end of your purpose is just the beginning of your becoming. This is your Saturday, the day between crucifixion and resurrection, the day no one preaches about, the day where the miracle hasn't shown up yet, but the pain is very real. I want you to see how even my son went through it. Friday held the agony. Sunday carried the glory. But Saturday was the silence, the waiting, the grave, the question, was it all real? And yet, what looked like nothing happening on the surface was actually the day I broke the gates of hell and took back the keys. It was the day victory began to unfold in the unseen. And I'm telling you now, you are in a Saturday season, and I am not done with your story. Do not mistake my silence for absence. Do not confuse this stillness with abandonment. I'm closer than your breath. I'm watching the inner movements of your heart. I know the thoughts you don't even pray out loud. I hear your questions. God, are you still with me? Have I missed it? Did I fail too hard? Have you moved on? And my answer is constant and sure. I have not changed my mind. I knew this part of your journey before you ever stepped into it. I saw the disappointment coming. I saw the heartbreak. I saw the way people would walk away, the way the doors would close, the way you'd stare into the dark and wonder if you made it all up. I saw all of it. And I still chose you. I still called you. I still planted something eternal in your spirit, and I will bring it to life again. You may feel hidden. You may feel like the spotlight has moved to others. You may feel like the favor you once walked in has dried up. But I want you to know, this hiddenness is not rejection. It's protection. I'm keeping you close to me so I can finish what I started without interference. I'm taking away what distracted you so I can sharpen your vision. I'm quieting the voices around you so you can finally hear mine again. Not through filters, not through the noise of opinions, but through direct encounter. You haven't missed your moment. You're not too late. What I've prepared for you hasn't passed you by. And what's ahead of you isn't just a continuation, it's resurrection. But before I raise what died, I'm making sure you know what it means to trust me in the tomb, to follow me when the lights are off, to walk with me when the answers don't come quickly. This is not punishment. This is preparation for power. Resurrection isn't just about coming back to life. It's about rising into something new. Not just healed, but whole. Not just functioning, but flourishing. Not just called, but commissioned. So stay with me. Don't run from this quiet place. Don't rush to escape it. Don't numb the ache or busy your soul. Let it do its work. Let it teach you to recognize me in the dark. I am here. I have always been. And when it's time to turn the page, you will not only see the next chapter, you will understand why this one had to exist. The cross still whispers your name, even on Saturday. Especially on Saturday, because this day was never about death. It was about waiting for what death could not hold. You are not stuck. You are not done. This is not the end. It's the pause before the shift. It's the breath before the breakthrough. It's the silence before the sound of resurrection fills the air. So don't let despair write what I never said. Don't let hopelessness hold the pen. I'm still writing, and what's coming next will carry glory that your past can't compete with. Hold steady. Keep watching. Keep waiting. You are not forgotten, you're just becoming. My child, I know how hard it is to trust again when your heart has lived through so many disappointments. I know the way you've built protective layers around yourself, not because you don't want love, but because you no longer trust the arrival of good things. I see the way you still show up, the way you still try to believe, even though your expectations are quieter now. There's no condemnation in that silence. I understand it. But I also want to reach into it, not to push you, but to invite you. Not to force faith, but to reignite it. Because what I see in you is not failure, and it's not lost potential. What I see is someone who is still here, still listening, still open, and that is more powerful than you know. I've never been impressed by performance. I'm not moved by perfection. I'm drawn to honesty, to the kind of honesty that doesn't have to sound polished or pretty, the kind that comes in whispers, in questions, in sighs late at night when no one else sees. You've asked me, even recently, God, do you still want me? With all of this, with this uncertainty, this fear, this lack of direction, and I want to answer you clearly and without hesitation. Yes, I still want you. Not the cleaned up version, not the ideal version. I want you, the real one, the one with unspoken doubts, with deep longings, with unfinished healing. That's the one I came for. That's the one I love. That's the one I whisper to even now. You've been taught, whether directly or subtly, that you need to get things together before you can come close to me again, that you need to fix your mindset, restore your discipline, rebuild your strength, and then maybe I'll meet you. But that was never how I moved. I've always come first. I always make the first move. While you were still distant, I was drawing near. While you were still hesitating, I was already covering you. While you were in the middle of shutting down, I was right there, protecting your mind, softening your heart, holding you together even when you didn't realize it. You see your weaknesses as flaws. I see them as open doors. Your need does not disqualify you. It's what invites me in. I've never required that you be strong without me. I've only asked that you stay open, stay honest, stay willing, to trust that I haven't changed. My posture toward you is not cold. It's not distant. I have been leaning toward you this entire time. And now, in this quiet space between chapters, I'm calling. Not with force, but with tenderness. Not with threats, but with truth. I want you back. Not in part. Not with conditions. Fully, freely, as you are. Let me tell you something you need to hear again. I still delight in you. I still rejoice over who you are becoming. I still see beauty in your journey, even in the messy parts. I am not disappointed in your process. I am present in it. I am not waiting for you to get it all right. I am walking with you while it's still unfinished. And if you could only see what I see in you, your shoulders would stop carrying shame. Your eyes would stop looking back in regret. You would begin to breathe again, not because everything is clear, but because you would finally believe that my love is not tied to your performance. You've looked at others and thought they must be more qualified, more spiritual, more ready for what I'm doing next. But I didn't call you based on comparison. I called you based on purpose. You're not late. You're not behind. You're not excluded. The timing of your life is still being held in my hand, and nothing has moved outside of my awareness. What feels like a detour is still within the coordinates of my divine map. What you think is delay, I've used as design. And I'm inviting you now to trust me again, not just with the outcome, but with the ongoing. This isn't a demand, it's a door back into closeness, into simplicity, into conversation, into the kind of communion that doesn't require a platform or a perfect atmosphere, just a heart that says, God, I'm still here, and I want to know you again. That's where everything begins to change, not through striving, but through surrender. And I know surrender sounds scary. It feels like risk. But what you're surrendering to is not punishment. You're surrendering to presence. You're stepping into peace. You're giving up the illusion of control to receive the reality of my guidance. And when you do, everything begins to soften again. Your heart, your vision, your hope. So here I am, no pressure, no agenda, just a father calling his child, just a creator reaching for what he created, just a king offering rest instead of rules. I'm not asking for promises. I'm not waiting on performance. I just want your presence. Let me speak to you again, through stillness, through my word, through moments you once overlooked. Let me walk with you, not in theory, but in reality. Let me remind you that you were never alone in that hospital room, that empty kitchen, that late night breakdown. I was there. I always was, and I always will be. This moment right now is not about what you've lost. It's about what I'm restoring, and what I restore, I make new. So come closer. You're not too far. You're not too late. You've not missed your moment. You're just on the edge of returning. And I'm still right here waiting, not with judgment, but with joy. My child, I need to speak to the part of your heart that still doesn't understand why I let certain things happen. The part of you that wrestles silently with disappointment, even when you're trying to be strong. The part of you that remembers moments I could have stepped in and didn't. I've watched you carry that weight with maturity and faith, but also with lingering confusion. You've trusted me, even when it hurt, and I honor that more than you know. But now I want to go deeper. I want to speak to what you never felt permission to ask. God, if you love me, why did you let this break me? Pain is not a stranger to you. It has shaped parts of your personality. It has affected your rhythms, your confidence, your expectations. It's become part of your vocabulary, even if you rarely speak it aloud. You've adapted around it. You've learned how to live with it. But I didn't design you to carry pain like a permanent weight. I allowed it for a time, but not without purpose, not without process, and certainly not without my presence. I never told you life with me would mean avoiding suffering. But I did promise you that I would be near in the middle of it, that I would never leave you alone in it. What I allowed not to harm you, but to heal what you didn't even know was wounded. Some of the deepest pain you've experienced wasn't even about the people who hurt you or the events that happened to you. It was about what those moments exposed inside you. The fear of being unloved, the belief that you had to earn your worth, the lie that closeness always ends in abandonment. I didn't cause the pain, But I used it. I used it to break the agreements you made with survival. I used it to pull you out of the patterns that were slowly stealing your voice. I used it to slow you down long enough to finally deal with the roots. Not the surface symptoms, but the core wounds. The ones buried beneath performance, noise, and busy distractions. Pain brought you to me in ways comfort never could. It carved space for presence. And presence is what heals, not time. That's why this season, though painful, was holy. Because in it, you let me come closer than you ever had before. I know you wouldn't have chosen this path. I know you begged me to stop certain things from unfolding the way they did. And I listened. I heard every cry. I caught every tear. But what you couldn't see then, and what you're only starting to glimpse now, is that I was protecting you in ways you didn't recognize. I was keeping you from building a life on foundations that would eventually collapse. I was pruning relationships, desires, ambitions, and even dreams. Not because they were all bad, but because they were premature. They were growing too fast, without the root system to support them. And if I hadn't allowed the breaking, you would have built something impressive to others, but unsustainable to your soul. Pain has a way of slowing everything down. It strips away the illusions of control. It silences the noise of comparison. It forces you to pay attention to what actually matters. And while it feels cruel in the moment, it becomes refining fire when you surrender to it. That's what you did. Even when you didn't realize it, you surrendered. Not with fancy prayers, but with raw honesty, with quiet faithfulness, with whispered yeses in the dark. That's what I saw. Not perfection, not spiritual eloquence, just real surrendered presence. And I never needed more than that to begin the rebuilding. What you're feeling now, the dull ache, the quiet exhaustion, the empty spaces left behind, those are signs that something has ended. But they are also signs that something new is beginning. You don't come out of pain the same way you entered it. You leave with a deeper awareness, a more grounded spirit, a cleaner heart. What you used to tolerate no longer fits. What you used to chase no longer calls you. What you used to fear no longer has authority over you. That's how you know healing has begun. Not because you forget the pain, but because it no longer defines your perspective. And I want you to hear this clearly. There is no shame in your scars. The world sees them as weakness. I see them as evidence. Evidence that you stayed, that you endured, that you didn't run from me, even when it would have been easier. Your scars don't disqualify you. They mark you. They tell your story. They release compassion to others. They remind darkness that you are not easily broken. You carry them now not with guilt, but with grace. So no, I was never cruel. I was careful. I knew what had to die in you so that what was truly alive could remain. I knew what needed to be removed so that what's eternal could grow roots. You asked me to use you, and this was my answer. Before I pour out through you, I always go deep within you. Before I trust you with influence, I build you in intimacy. Before I release you to carry others, I make sure you've let me carry you. And now, on this side of the process, you're beginning to see the pain had a purpose. It didn't come to end your story. It came to refine it, to give it weight, to prepare you for what's next. You are not the same person you were before this. You are clearer. You are humbler. You are more anchored in me. And that version of you, the one forged through fire, is the one ready to walk in resurrection life. My child, now that you've seen what the pain was working in you, I want to speak to what I've been preparing for you, because while you were in the valley, while you were walking through long corridors of silence, I was not still. I never stop moving, especially when you cannot see it. I am a God who builds foundations before revealing structures. I go deep before I go wide. And in your life, I have been building something that cannot be shaken. You thought you were forgotten, but I was working in the unseen. You thought nothing was happening, but I was setting divine pieces into motion. There are promises I made to you that haven't faded from my heart. You've questioned them. You've shelved them. Some you barely allow yourself to hope for anymore because the waiting stretched so long it felt safer to let them go than to carry the ache of delay. But I never asked you to carry them alone. I spoke them because I had every intention to fulfill them, and I have not forgotten one word. My timing has never been tied to your comfort. It has always been aligned with your capacity to carry the weight of what I want to place in your hands. Now that I've formed in you what cannot be shaken, I'm ready to start unfolding what I've been holding. You've asked me many times, is it still coming? And my answer is yes, not in theory, not as poetic hope, but in reality. Yes, I'm still moving. Yes, I'm still building. Yes, I'm still opening the right doors. And I'm closing the ones that would have led to distraction. But here is what I need you to understand. The signs of movement in this season will not always come with noise. Some doors will open quietly. Some connections will come subtly. Some shifts will begin with just a whisper in your spirit. You must stay sensitive. Do not look for the dramatic. Look for the divine. You will start to notice moments where your spirit feels drawn to speak to someone you didn't expect. You'll find yourself remembering things I promised you years ago, but with new clarity, new urgency. You'll hear a phrase in passing that confirms exactly what I've been saying in secret. These are signs. These are signals. Do not ignore them. I'm awakening your spiritual senses again so you can recognize me without needing loud signs. The more you lean in, the more you'll realize I never stopped speaking. You just stopped expecting me in the subtle. This is a season of alignment, of realignment, of placement. Things that felt random will begin to make sense. You will see how I used certain delays to protect your timeline, how I rerouted certain relationships not out of cruelty, but because what's coming required a different structure around you. The people who are still in your life now have been permitted. The people who left were part of the preparation. You don't need to carry resentment. You don't need to question what left. If I allowed it to go, it was never meant to stay for this next chapter. And what is meant for you will find you effortlessly, supernaturally, without striving. But listen closely. I'm not just restoring what was lost. I'm doing something new. Don't expect me to repeat myself. I will not copy what I did in a previous season. I will not use the same patterns, places, or platforms. I'm doing something that your eyes haven't seen and your ears haven't heard. Not because I enjoy surprise, but because I'm revealing myself in a deeper way. You've matured. Your capacity has increased. And now I can trust you with greater responsibility, deeper revelation, and more influence, but with a quieter spirit, a surer foundation, and a heart more anchored in me than in applause. You've prayed for increase. I've heard you, and increase is coming. But it's not just increase in visibility, it's increase in discernment, in peace, in clarity, in boldness. You will speak differently, not louder, but more precisely. You will walk into rooms and atmospheres will shift, not because of charisma, but because of consecration. You will hear my voice in ways you've never heard before, not always in words, but in conviction, in inner knowing, in peace that overrules fear. You're not becoming someone else. You're becoming who you always were in me. You will also begin to notice unexpected confirmations. Moments you once would have dismissed will suddenly feel divine. Do not call it coincidence. There is no such thing in my kingdom. I orchestrate every detail. I align timing with purpose. I send people at the right moment. I close doors right before they can derail you. I open others just as your heart is ready to carry what's behind them. This level of detail is not random. It is intentional strategy from a Father who is involved in every breath of your life. So stay alert. Keep your heart soft. Remain faithful in the small. The temptation now will be to overanalyze everything, to try to make things happen with your own strength. But I don't need your effort. I need your availability. I don't need you to push doors open. I will open them. I don't need you to prove your readiness. I already know you're ready. Your job now is to stay positioned. Stay at my feet. Stay in my word. Stay in step with my spirit. I will guide you, prompt you, confirm things through peace. And when it's time, you won't have to force the next step. It will unfold because your heart is already aligned. You're entering a season where my promises will begin to manifest, not all at once, not always loudly, but undeniably. The roots are breaking through the ground. The rain is coming to what you thought was dead soil. The harvest is growing, and the time of silence is ending. And it has nothing to do with your striving. It has everything to do with my faithfulness. My child, now that you have heard me, now that your spirit has begun to recognize that I never stop moving, it is time to learn how to live differently. Revelation is not just a moment of insight, it's an invitation to transformation. I didn't just whisper truth to encourage you for a day, I spoke it to establish you for a new way of walking. And that walk begins now, slowly, intentionally, with me. Everything I revealed in this silence must now become the rhythm of your life, not just a memory of an encounter. You must take what I've spoken in the secret place and carry it into your ordinary days. That is how you remain. That is how you grow. That is how you multiply the seeds I just planted in your heart. The first thing I want you to understand is this. Faith is not a feeling. It's not a spiritual high. It's not measured by how inspired you feel. Faith is alignment. Faith is agreement with my word, even when your circumstances don't reflect it yet. Faith is waking up and choosing to walk in what I've said, even when emotions are low, energy is drained, and the answers still haven't arrived. That's the kind of faith that pleases me. That's the kind of faith that changes atmospheres. Not loud declarations alone, but steady obedience. You don't need to strive to have strong faith. You just need to keep your yes in place, even on quiet days, even when you're tired, even when nothing seems to be happening. That is strength in my kingdom. Start your days with me again, not out of pressure or guilt, but because I am your source. I am your alignment. I don't need a long performance. I need your first breath. Just pause. Just invite me in. Just say, Jesus, here I am. When you give me your first attention, I direct your vision for the rest of the day. You are not meant to carry the weight of decisions, relationships, and responsibilities without the voice of your Father anchoring you first. So create space. Even 10 minutes of stillness can shape the posture of your entire soul. Return to my word, not as an obligation, but as a daily meal. Open it not to finish a chapter, but to hear my voice. I will highlight what you need. I will speak to you with clarity. I will confirm what I've been whispering in your spirit. Your time with me is not a spiritual task. It is your sacred oxygen. It is what will keep you from drifting. It is what will remind you who you are when the world starts speaking louder than truth. And when you do drift, when your routine slips, when life becomes chaotic, don't hide, just return, quickly, humbly. I do not reject the inconsistent. I restore the hungry. Let prayer become your atmosphere again, not just a moment, but a mindset. Talk to me in between everything. When the thought comes, speak it. When the fear rises, release it. When the joy comes, thank me. Let conversation with me weave through your day not as a performance, but as presence. I'm not looking for eloquence. I'm looking for nearness. Even your sighs speak to me. Even your silence carries weight when your heart is turned toward mine. Pay close attention to what you allow to shape your inner world, what you watch, listen to, dwell on. It all forms the atmosphere of your spirit, and in this next season, you must protect that space fiercely. Discern what strengthens your peace and what steals it. Let me train your discernment again, not by rules, but by fruit. If it drains your clarity, dulls your passion, or clouds your vision, it doesn't belong. You are not being called to live in legalism, but in awareness. And that awareness is what will keep your spirit sharp for what I'm about to release through you. Build your life around my rhythm. Not the rhythm of pressure, performance, or culture. My rhythm is grace. It is sustainable. It is simple. Rest when I say rest. Move when I say move. Stop when I say wait. Learn to pause, learn to breathe. Learn to ask me before rushing into anything. Your calendar is not your compass. I am. And when you learn to follow my peace more than the pace of the world, you will begin to live from abundance, not exhaustion. Obey me quickly. When I nudge you to speak, speak. When I lead you to forgive, do it now. When I prompt you to walk away from something, don't delay. Every act of obedience, especially the small ones, becomes fuel for the next door I open. You don't need to understand the whole plan to obey the next step. Clarity follows surrender. And when you learn to walk with me in the quiet steps, I will trust you with greater assignments. Don't underestimate the power of small faithfulness. It's how I build great things. Stay planted in community. You are not meant to carry this alone. Surround yourself with people who pursue my presence, who remind you of truth when your memory fades, who walk with grace and speak with conviction. Community protects calling. It challenges pride, it sharpens discernment, it teaches love. Isolation may feel safer, but it will starve your growth. Open your life again. Let others in. Let me use the people I've placed around you to confirm, stretch, and mature the work I'm doing in your heart. And above all, stay near. Not as a rule, as a rhythm, not as a duty, as a desire. I'm not calling you to hustle. I'm calling you to walk with me, step by step, word by word, decision by decision. That is how the fire stays lit. That is how the peace stays rooted. That is how the promises become lifestyle. You have been given much. Now live like someone who knows it. You have been entrusted with something sacred, my voice, my presence, my word in you. Guard it, nurture it, and let it grow into a life that not only survives, but carries power. My child, there is something I need you to receive before you step into what's ahead. Something foundational. Something that can no longer remain buried beneath old mindsets, broken labels, or fear of being misunderstood. I need you to know who you truly are. Not who your past shaped you to be, not who your pain tried to convince you you'd always remain, but who I say you are. Because if you try to carry this next season with a fractured view of yourself, you'll constantly question what I've already confirmed. You'll hesitate when I tell you to move. You'll retreat when I'm calling you to lead. You'll keep adjusting yourself to be acceptable to people I never even assigned to your life. Let me speak clearly to the root. You are not too much. You are not too broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not disqualified. You are not average. You are not invisible. You are not tolerated. You are not a burden. You're not a mistake. You're not what they said when they didn't understand you. You're not what abandonment tried to make you believe. You're not the echo of rejection. You're not defined by the silence you walk through. You are mine. You carry my image. My breath lives in you. My mark rests on your life. When I formed you, I did not make a copy. I made a creation. You are not one of many. You are one of one. You don't have to compete, perform, or prove anything to earn a place in my presence. You already belong. You always have. Before you did anything useful. Before you got it together. Before you knew how to pray the right words or explain your theology. I loved you then. And I haven't stopped for a single moment since. You've let too many outside voices shape your internal dialogue. You've believed things about yourself that don't agree with heaven, and those beliefs have built invisible walls. They've made you shrink. Hide, question, settle. But I'm coming now to tear those walls down, not with condemnation, but with truth. And this truth will not just encourage you, it will realign you. You were never meant to live under the pressure to be who others expect. You were called to live from the freedom of knowing who I already said you are. You are chosen. You are loved with a love that doesn't flicker or fade. You are set apart, not forgotten. You are anointed, not by titles, but by encounter. You are wise, not because of credentials, but because my Spirit speaks through you. You're not who you were a year ago, and you're not who you'll be tomorrow. You're in process, yes, but don't despise that. Growth is not a sign of immaturity. It's a sign of my hand on your life. I'm not ashamed of your progress. I celebrate it, and I walk with you through every step of it. There are things about your personality, your story, your past, even your scars, that I'm going to use for my glory. You've tried to hide certain parts of your journey because you thought they disqualified you. But what if I told you they're the very parts I plan to shine through the brightest? I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to be available. I'm not asking you to figure everything out. I'm asking you to trust me when I say there is more in you than you've seen. You've let your weaknesses define you for too long. But what you call weakness, I call opportunity. It is where my strength shows up. It's where pride gets stripped away and grace moves freely. I am not limited by your limitations. I don't choose people based on resume. I choose them based on heart. And your heart, even through everything you've been through, has remained soft enough for me to speak to. That is rare. That is valuable. That is holy. So let me restore your name. Not the one life gave you through pain, but the one I gave you before time began. Let me restore your boldness, not arrogance, but holy confidence rooted in my voice. Let me restore your innocence, not by erasing your history, but by cleansing your lens. I want you to see yourself the way I see you, whole, radiant, purposeful, powerful, not because of performance, but because of my presence in you. You're not who you were, and you don't have to keep pretending you are. You don't have to apologize for your light. You don't have to keep dimming to stay acceptable. I've placed something weighty on your life, and it's time you learn how to carry it without shame. Humility is not about hiding. It's about staying rooted while shining. And I'm teaching you how to do that now. To stop backing away from who I've called you to be. To stop filtering my voice through the opinions of those who never saw the whole picture. This season is going to require you to remember who you are, because when the resistance comes, and it will, you'll need more than motivation. You'll need identity. You'll need to stand firm in the truth that your name is written on my heart, that I don't regret calling you, that I'm not using you out of obligation, but out of joy. You bring me joy. You reflect my nature. And no voice, no failure, no delay, no comparison can erase what I've spoken over your life. So take a deep breath. Let the pressure lift. Let the masks fall. Let the weight of proving yourself drop to the ground. I'm not asking for your perfection. I never was. I'm asking for your trust, for your presence, for your return to the place where your identity isn't earned, but received. You are mine, and I'm not done with your story. I'm just now showing you who you really are. My child, everything I've revealed, healed, and realigned in you up to this point was not meant to fade into memory. It was meant to become the structure of how you live from now on. What I planted in your spirit must now be watered, guarded, and grown. Not by striving, but by intention. Not by pressure, but by presence. This next part of your journey is not about doing more. It's about living more aware, more connected, more rooted in me. And for that, you need rhythm, you need spiritual posture, you need daily space where your soul doesn't just survive, but stays alive in me. I want you to begin your days, not with reaction, but with recognition. Before you reach for the noise of the world, reach for me. I don't require hours of religious effort. I simply want to be your first awareness. The moment your eyes open, acknowledge me. Whisper my name. Invite my spirit to lead before you're pulled in 1,000 directions. That small act of surrender in the first breath of your morning becomes the anchor for everything that follows. It reminds your soul that you are not navigating alone, that you are not a servant of chaos, but a child of peace. Let my word return to the center of your days, not as an obligation, but as oxygen. You don't need to consume it in bulk. You need to receive it with expectation. Slow down. Read until something speaks. When a verse catches your attention, pause. Ask me why. Let it settle into your spirit. Write it down. Carry it into your day. Meditate on it in moments of silence. The word is not just a book. It is me, speaking directly into your spirit. It is your weapon, your nourishment, your clarity. And when the storms rise again, and they will, it will be my word that keeps you from falling back into old confusion. Prayer, too, must become a rhythm again. Not a box to check, not a religious obligation, but a continuous conversation. You don't need to be eloquent. You just need to be honest. Tell me everything. The thoughts that feel foolish, the fears that keep rising, the hopes you barely want to admit. I want it all. I can handle it. Prayer is not about performance. It's about presence. And when you speak, pause. Let me respond. My spirit doesn't always shout, but I always speak through peace, through conviction, through scripture, through the sudden stillness in the middle of a busy day. Learn to recognize my tone. The more you quiet the noise, the more clearly you'll hear me. Guard your inner world with intentionality. I've deposited something sacred in you, and it cannot grow in a polluted atmosphere. Watch what you let in, what you watch, read, listen to, and dwell on. It's not about legalism, it's about stewardship. Not everything that's popular is profitable for your spirit. Not everything that's acceptable is beneficial. Ask me to train your discernment again. I'll show you what feeds you and what drains you. You'll begin to feel it. Peace will rise or lift. Clarity will stay or fade. These are signals. Listen to them. You don't need to fear culture, but you must remain untangled from it. You are in this world, but not of it. You are called to reflect heaven, not absorb confusion. Your attitude will also need to be submitted to me daily. How you speak, how you respond, how you interpret what's happening around you. These are not just emotional reflexes, they are spiritual gateways. Bitterness, anxiety, pride, and impatience open the door to voices that are not mine. But when you remain in gratitude, humility, kindness, and forgiveness, you keep the environment of your heart open to my spirit. And that's where I can do the most. That's where my joy remains. That's where your discernment stays sharp. Pay attention to rest. You've been taught to run on empty and call it obedience. But I never asked you to burn yourself out for me. I asked you to walk with me. Rest is not weakness. It is worship. It is trust. It is an act of resistance against a world addicted to performance. When you rest at the right time, you remind your soul that I am the one holding everything together, not your effort. You will be more effective after rest than you ever could be through exhaustion. Stay in fellowship. You are not created to walk this alone. You've learned to protect yourself with isolation, but I'm teaching you to trust again, carefully, wisely, but truly. Let others speak into your life. Open your process. Let them remind you of what I said when your own heart starts to forget. Community is not always easy, but it is necessary. It sharpens you. It humbles you. It confirms the truth when your emotions lie. Let me show you who your people are, and when I do, stay planted. Water them. Serve them. Let love flow both ways. That's where growth multiplies. And above all, keep your sensitivity. Don't lose your softness. In a world that numbs and hardens, choose to remain open. Let my spirit interrupt your plans. Let me redirect your day. When I stir your heart to reach out to someone, do it. When I ask you to speak truth, speak with boldness and compassion. When I call you to be still, don't resist. You are being trained to follow my voice in real time, not just in prayer, but in motion. And the more you respond, the more I'll trust you with greater measures of my presence. This is not about spiritual performance. It's about spiritual posture. It's about staying close, living aware, choosing me again and again, even in the smallest moments. That's where the fruit comes from. Not from pressure, but from presence. And when you live this way, you won't just survive. You'll remain. You'll bear fruit in every season. You'll be ready, rooted, and steady, because you never left the place where I dwell. This is how we walk together now, in rhythm, in rest, in daily trust. Stay near, stay grounded, stay available. I will do the rest. My child, hear me clearly. The waiting is nearing its end. The silence that once shaped you has served its purpose, and now I'm announcing something new over your life. This is not just encouragement. It is a word from my spirit to your spirit. The shift has begun. Not in theory, not in some far-off timeline. I am speaking of now. What I've been forming in secret is beginning to break through the surface. The process you thought would never end is entering a moment of divine activation. This next part of your journey will not be defined by survival, but by fulfillment. Not by delay, but by release. I have watched you stay faithful in the hidden place. I have seen the choices no one else saw. I have heard the prayers that never made it to paper, the ones whispered between heavy breaths when you were too exhausted to believe for more. I saw how you kept showing up, even when your faith felt fragile. And I want you to know, it mattered. Your consistency in the silence, your surrender in the waiting, your quiet yes when your strength was low, those moments moved heaven. They weren't small to me, they were foundation. And now I am building on what you thought was buried. I'm releasing movement, first in you, then around you. The change is internal before it is external. You'll notice it first as clarity, as calm, as peace where there used to be pressure. You'll sense a shift in the way you see yourself. You won't feel the same pull to old patterns. You'll stop needing validation from voices I've silenced. What used to shake you will feel strangely weightless. That is not your imagination. That's your spirit, stepping into alignment with what I have already begun. That's your discernment sharpening. That's your capacity expanding. This is your confirmation. I've gone ahead of you, and now I'm calling you forward. Things will begin to move quickly. Opportunities that were once delayed will now come with momentum. Rooms you once had to push your way into will begin to open without your effort. The favor I placed on your life will begin to attract what your striving never could. I'm not asking you to chase what's next. I'm asking you to prepare to receive it. You'll recognize it because it won't carry the anxiety of your past. It will come wrapped in peace. You won't have to force it. You won't have to manipulate or prove your worth to enter in. You will walk into what I prepared, and you will do so with grace. Because now you understand, it's not about performance, it's about obedience. Some of the things I will place before you will feel bigger than your ability, and they should, because they are not designed to elevate your name. They are designed to magnify mine. Do not be afraid of the weight of what's coming. I have already equipped you to carry it, and where you feel small, my power will be made perfect. You will not collapse under what I give you, because I am not giving it to the version of you that once feared the pressure. I'm giving it to the version of you that was formed in fire, quiet, steady, tested, ready. I'm also restoring what you thought was lost. Relationships that were strained are about to soften. Conversations you've avoided will begin to unfold with grace. There are things you've released to me that I'm now returning, but healthier, purified, reordered. I am redeeming time. I am restoring places in your heart that stopped believing restoration was possible. You are going to see my hand in things you already closed the book on. But don't run ahead of me. Follow my pace. I will guide the timing. I will make the first move. Your only job is to remain responsive when I speak. If I say wait, trust me. If I say move, don't delay. Sensitivity is your strategy in this season. There will be moments in the coming days where you feel something shift in a room, a conversation, a decision, and you won't be able to explain it in the natural. That's because what I'm doing now doesn't follow natural logic. It's spiritual. And you'll have to learn to trust the unseen, the prompting, the stirring, the peace that interrupts confusion. These are signs. Follow them. They are not random. They are your direction. I will confirm what you carry by what I establish around you. And what I build, no one can